So, when was the last time you laughed? I mean, I mean, really laughed. On today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. Woo!
Welcome to Casting Actors Cast. It's the podcast for actors in the business of show. Here is your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. We're calling today's episode A Funny Bone to Pick. So, we're dealing with this COVID virus. Everybody is, dealing with it in so many different ways. Actors are dealing with it in so many different ways, and people in general are having to cope with this just unbelievable sense of the weirdness of it all and how strange and difficult and challenging it is. And, I'm right there too. So I really want to take a moment today and chat a little bit about coping mechanisms and humor being one of them. Now, I'm not here to make light of any of this situation, but I am here to say that we have to take care of ourselves in a lot of different ways. And you know what? I think humor is actually kind of a good medicine that we should really kind of take seriously. So I hope we'll have a good conversation about that today. But this is that moment in the podcast where I want to say, wow, my goodness, I've gotten so many amazing responses from those of you who have been regular listeners, but also just a ton of new listeners. I've had the pleasure of doing 1-hour chats with Actors Connection and Terry Schreiber Studios, and I have several more coming up. I'm giving my time just to answer actors' questions and to have conversations with folks. I'm also, along with Pat, doing a lot of online teaching, and we're having a really exciting time. I've converted my entire second bedroom into a studio just so that we could go right to Zoom and just start doing our teaching thing. And it has been very challenging, but it's also been just a boatload of fun. It has been, because we are kind of in this new world, and instead of being in fear and instead of kind of pushing ourselves into our own little nest together, we're trying to do as much outreach as we can. But I digress. Easy for me to do. I wanted just to say to all of the respondents, all those folks out there who have written to me and thanked me for being there for them, I just am overwhelmed and filled with gratitude. And I can't thank you enough for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. The only thing I'm asking of you is to please tell your friends about this podcast. Maybe there's someone out there who could really benefit from this. I do my very, very best to impart the best kind of information that I can to make it as helpful and as positive as I possibly can. And so there may be somebody in your circle that doesn't know about Casting Actors Cast yet. So please do me the favor of spreading the word. I will also let you know once again that if you go to the website, castingactorscast.com, all one word, you'll find a place that says dive into the talent pool. You just fill out that form. By the way, that's information that I don't do anything with. It's just for me. I don't sell your name or spam you or anything like that. I'm not that sophisticated. But what I would love for you to do is to go to the website, check out the website, because there's some downloadable PDFs that correspond to some of the podcasts, some kind of handout type material. But also, if you fill out that form, the cool thing is you're going to see a free downloadable PDF book on doing voiceover work. And this is, my goodness, an excellent time for you to consider doing voiceover work. You don't need a lot of sophisticated equipment, and you can do it in the comfort of your own home, but you got to know how to do it, and you got to know what is being asked for. You may be a very talented actor, but there's a very specific kind of acting technique for voiceover work that you have to deal with. And this book called You'd think I know the name of my own book. Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the Voiceover Workshop for Professional Actors is the long-winded title of the book. But if you go there, you can download the entire book. It's 100 pages, but it's all kinds of different types of copy, exercises, little tips and tidbits. It's pretty much a lot like Jeff talking to you, like a class. And that was the origin of the book. So you can have that absolutely free of charge with my thanks. Also, there's all the social media stuff. I do my very best to edit these videos because I'm also recording the podcast on video, and I'm uploading that to YouTube. So if you want to see me do the podcast and see me and all the faces that I make, then please do yourself a favor and go to the YouTube channel. And it would be an honor to have you subscribe and like and give me as many positive reviews, especially on iTunes. iTunes seems to be the big, kahuna as far as people being able to read reviews and decide if they want to listen to a podcast or not. So I'm just all about trying to get the word out as much as possible. I'm sorry I took so long over doing that, but there it is. So I have a funny bone to pick. The reality for me is that if I don't have a sense of humor about some of this stuff, I will just go back into a very dark place. And I just can't go there. I just refuse to go there. And I don't know if you're like me about that at all. But I try to take as much as I can, deal with as much as I can, try to be front-footed about everything that I do. And then there are those times when it's just kind of overwhelming and I just feel tightly wound. And the only solution for me, well, there are actually two solutions for me. As far as trying to bring myself out of those darker emotional places. And one is exercise. And I'm not going to do the lecture thing about exercise, but when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I decided to do something immediately. And I just started not eating carbs, not eating processed sugar, and walking 2.5 miles every day. And you know what? I've done that for a couple of years now. And I no longer have type 2 diabetes, honestly. My blood sugar is absolutely normal all the time now. I'm so grateful for that. Plus, my head is just so much clearer. I do it in the morning. I get up really early. I try to get up early, and I'm pretty successful at it. Completely different than when I was drinking, my dark days. But now I'm getting up early and I'm getting really good exercise. And again, I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just trying to let you know this is something that I do. And the other thing is I try to find humor in as much as I possibly can. And that's kind of the tone of today's podcast, at least I hope it is that humor is an excellent, excellent medicine. And so one of the things that humor does for me is just the ability to laugh, just the ability to find the absurdity of some of these bizarre and awful situations, not certainly at anybody's expense, but certainly to see that how strange it is to see your mailman and your person at the drugstore and the cashier at the grocery store, everybody's wearing masks. And the universal truth about everybody wearing masks is that everyone has foggy glasses. I don't know if you've noticed that, but everyone is like in this fog, literally and figuratively, that we're doing this thing with these masks on and these homemade masks. And then the fog kind of clogs up the glasses and then it's hard to see. And there I am doing my power walk in the morning and I can't see. I'm thinking, this is either really, really pathetic or it's just so absurd. I can't believe it. So then I take off my glasses and then I'm a little bit better. But finding the humor in those little moments is so important. It's important because as creative people, we sometimes indulge some of those negative areas of our lives. We get into forgive the pun of this, but we get into the drama of it all the time. And we indulge that sometimes. And not that that's completely unhealthy in and of itself, but think about the alternative. Think about taking a different look at around you, at those things that are just kind of funny, those things that are just kind of bizarre in a funny way, the things that we catch ourselves doing when we're out of our comfort zone is kind of, pretty hilarious sometimes. So let me just also address something that I feel really great about sharing, and that is I've been going online a lot. I'm doing, as I said, I mentioned, doing a lot of freebie online teaching and talking to and answering questions and filling in for Pat, some of her university classes. And I've been going online and just absolutely amazed and overwhelmed at how the acting community has coalesced and brought about so many wonderful, wonderful opportunities for actors. In fact, our office is going to be casting actors in some play readings. So we're just going to do it online. We're going to do it on Zoom. But this has been done around a while now, so it's not really a new idea. But wouldn't it be cool to sit around and listen to and or be a reader in some new plays, just so that you can hear some new work? What are writers writing right now? And so we're going to be trying to organize a whole group, and we'll be casting actors and we'll be doing some play reading. So I'll certainly have more to say about that. But I thought that was so cool. And then, of course, our dear friend Seth Rudetsky, and Seth, you probably know, is a contributor to playbill.com. He's doing these wonderful discussions online every day with Kristen Chenoweth and all of these amazing, wonderfully talented performers, just talking about life, talking about the business, talking about show business, reminiscing. It's really, really, really fantastic. Plus, there are all kinds of performances going on out there. A lot of Broadway actors are standing on their balconies and they're singing or they're reciting or they're doing their thing. It's just really amazing, right? Because, we're not first responders as performers, as casting directors, as directors. We're not in the front lines. We're not putting ourselves or our lives at risk if we're being careful. But what we can do is shape the universe just a little bit, just to try and make it a little more palatable, a little more pleasant, a little more fun. So there's giving in all kinds of different ways. But it's in that sense of humor that I just think makes a world of difference. So if you really want to talk about the anatomical structure of laughing, so here it is. So that what happens is your diaphragm, which is the muscle just below your lungs, that expands to bring in air into your lungs. But when you're laughing, what's amazing is that you have this synapses from the brain firing on the lungs, which gives you this bizarre kind of airflow controlled by the diaphragm that just sounds kind of weird. So when you laugh, it's really amazing because it's sort of like you're not completely in control of your laughter. It just sort of it's funny. It just makes you feel funny. And also when you laugh and you're taking in that additional air to support the laughter, your endorphins are kicking in. All of those wonderful pleasure centers of your brain just kind of light up. And that's got to be healthy, right? I mean, maybe too much of it. It's like when I was a kid, it was really like this horrible tragedy. I'm from a family of 8 children. I was fifth born in a family of 8. And so I was the middle kid, right? And 5 boys, 3 girls. And my older brothers, boy, love them to pieces, but boy, they were tormentors in my growing up years. And one thing, because I used to laugh all the time, is that my one brother would hold me down and tickle me. And I would be laughing so hard, but it was so painful. It was like this weird dichotomy between I'm being hurt, but it's hilarious. So I never forgot that. So I don't know, maybe I guess I have to talk to my therapist about that now that I think about it. Yeah, maybe it was kind of weird. Anyway, let's move on. So being tickled to death is no laughing matter. But here's the thing. I really love, and it's a pleasurable experience when you hear something funny or a funny story comes to mind. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll let my imagination go and I'll recall something that just cracks me up. And I could be anywhere. I could be sitting in an airport, or I could be, at home with my wife, and suddenly I'm breaking out into laughter, and it's like, what's so funny? Really? Is it, do you need anything? Do you want something? No, I just thought of something funny. So having to explain yourself, that's not that fun either, really, now that I think about it. But laughter truly is the best medicine. The question I have for you is, when was the last time you really laughed about something? And if it's been a while, and it probably has been, as far as I can understand with what we're dealing with, probably has been a while, think of something that happened to you that was pretty funny. Not necessarily embarrassing or bad or awful, but something that just made you stop and think, okay, the absurdity of it all. And I have a lot of those kinds of stories. In fact, I've shared a few of them on past podcasts. I'm not sure I want to go that far deep into the weeds with that. But I will say that there was one time in college where I was doing a production, and I was doing the Chocolate Soldier play. And I was playing Luca, the old man servant. Only in college can you get away with playing an 85-year-old guy, and you're 18 years old or 19 years old. So I decided that because we had to design our own makeup as well for the project, and it was going to be a big play at the Bonstel Theater in Detroit, Michigan. And I remember Mark Johannes, a good friend of mine at the time, and we were both in there getting our BFA degree, and he was playing the leading character, and I was playing the character of Luca. And I decided I was going to wear this bald cap, and so I put this bald cap on and stretched it over, and I did the spirit gum that held the bald cap down, and then I had little wisps of hair coming out on the side, and then I drew the lines, right, so that you had the old age lines, and I did the lines under the eyes. And, at that time, of course, I thought I looked really amazing, right? But it's getting close to curtain time, and so I'm kind of rushing a little bit, and Mark is kind of throwing his stuff on, and suddenly the bald cap split right across the front of my forehead. And out popped my blonde hair. And I had very kind of blonde kind of hair that just kind of popped out. Amongst all this gray and this old man makeup, there was this like blonde little tail that sort of stuck out. And it was like 5 minutes to curtain. I mean, it was like, okay, there's like nothing to be done. I mean, I can't pin it. I can't try and re-glue it. It was like glued on. It was just a nightmare mess. Well, when I tell you that Mark and I just looked at each other and we started laughing, and we just could not stop laughing. Tears were pouring down my eyes, and the makeup was now dripping on the floor. It was just this nightmare, but yet you just had to laugh at the absurdity of it. And I still think about that time. The whole memory, this whole sense memory thing just kicks into high gear when I think about that moment. Now, you might be wondering what happened, and you know what? I don't really remember that part. I guess I must have just slapped as much spirit gum as I could and just slapped as much makeup on as I could over the split in the bald cap. And I did the performance, but that was an unbelievable moment that I just, for some reason, maybe you could tell me, for some reason, I just could not ever forget. It was just that absurd and that fun. So I think about those kinds of moments. I think about the time that I used to, when I had my property up in Massachusetts and I had a chainsaw and I needed to protect my ears from the sound of the chainsaw, and I didn't have any proper ear protection, but I went into the medicine cabinet and I found some tampons. Yeah, so I took the tampons and I put one in each ear. And they were like the perfect earplugs for me. And they kind of hung out, so I had the little string so I could retrieve them if I needed to. And I was a happy little camper chainsawing away when, of course, the nosy next door neighbor, JP, taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hi, neighbor, what you doing?" And I remember turning to him and him looking at me like, what's what's going on? He's looking, and I never even noticed it. I didn't think about the earplugs at all. So I'm having this like 6-minute conversation with what looks like a string that goes in one ear and out the other. And I'm not sure if he knew what I was using for earplugs, but it wasn't until he left that I realized that I had this entire conversation with him with these plugs in. And I didn't even realize, now that I'm thinking about it, I had no problem hearing him. So maybe they weren't that good after all. Oh my goodness. I do a lot of dumb things sometimes, and if I don't laugh at myself about it, then I just would turn that into anger. I would just turn that into kind of beating myself up. And let me tell you, if you're going to beat yourself up, you've got to use a feather. You've got to be easy on yourself, because we're dealing with really challenging and really, really difficult times right now. And I certainly don't think there's anything funny about the Corona-19 virus. I don't think there's anything funny about 10,000 people losing their lives to this virus. That's not what this is about. But there has to be a way to find a balance. There has to be a way to come to a full understanding. It can't just be one thing or the other. So my thoughts today are with you. I hope that you're taking care of yourself. I hope that you're well. And I hope that you can find ways to laugh, find ways to get the humor. Go online, take a look at some of these amazing performances that are going on out there. And then if you have a chance, check out some of the classes where there's online teaching going on. And there's some really amazing skill set things that you can do for yourself during this absolutely crazy time. Thanks so much for listening. Hope to see you next time. And hear me next time on Casting Actors Cast. Bye-bye.
Casting Actors Cast is made possible with your support just by listening. Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.